3 shocking questions Jesus will ask you at Judgment Day. Are you prepared to face him? The air shimmered with tension. A thick mist curled around the jagged rocks of the forgotten valley, where unspeakable secrets whispered. Legend had it that each soul arriving on Judgment Day faced not just the weight of their actions but questions so piercing they could slice through the bravest heart. The first shocker? Did you love without condition? A breathless silence fell as each soul contemplated the harsh reality. What did love really mean? Who among them could stand unflinchingly in that truth? The clouds seemed to churn, reflecting their unrest, pulsing with anxiety like a caged beast. Then there was the chilling second question that sent shivers down spines. Did you forgive those who hurt you? Ghosts of past anguish loomed large, each figure remembering the sharp blades of betrayal and resentment. As they shifted nervously, guilty glances were exchanged, faces pale, hearts racing. Forgiveness was not merely a release. It was a crucible that tested their very essence. One could hear the rustling of leaves, and the fear was palpable. A chorus of unspoken regrets echoed like a distant thunder, and impending dread clouded the horizon, creeping in like dark storm clouds before the tempest. Thunder rattled in the distance, a reminder of what was to come. Where were they headed? What awaited them beyond the gateway of reality? The anticipation was electric. Each whisper, each trembling breath hung heavy in the air, as if something momentous was about to unravel. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. And then, as if the ground itself shivered, the final question loomed larger than life. Did you pursue your purpose? This one jolted them wide awake. A bright light blazed through the mist like a spotlight, illuminating the cracks of doubt within each heart. Faces contorted in confusion and fear. What purpose? Had they even scratched the surface? Voices murmur in disbelief. What if they were unprepared? The heart raced faster, a drumbeat of panic. Could they confront the very core of their life's meaning? As the last echoes of the question faded into the thickening fog, one figure dared to take a step forward, his resolve like steel, and whispered, "What if we regret the answers?" The valley fell silent, and a shroud of uncertainty settled over them. There was only one way forward to face whatever lay in the depths of their souls. What awaited them at the gates of judgment? And were they ready for the reality that awaited? Each second stretched into an eternity, leaving them on the brink of a revelation that could change everything. A sudden crack of thunder echoed, rattling the very bones of the valley. The air thickened with a charged silence that amplified every heartbeat. Eyes darted nervously as shadows slithered through the mist, a mix of fear and anticipation turning their stomachs into knots. What happens next? Someone whispered, barely audible over the distant rumble. But the question hung heavy like a stone in the throat, as if summoned by their unease. The fog shifted and twisted. A figure emerged from the darkness, clothed in light yet devoid of earthly features. There was no face, only a presence that radiated authority, a being untouched by human frailties. The souls felt their hearts stumble, chests tightening as they grasped the magnitude of what lay before them. "Welcome, my children." The voice reverberated through the valley, echoing in their very souls. "You stand on the precipice of truth, and it is here where the time of reckoning begins." More questions flared up now, more frantic and desperate. Will we know the answers? Another soul murmured, the tremor in their voice betraying the facade of strength they clung to. "Each of you carries the weight of your choices," he said, a soft rumble that seemed to wrap around them like a warm blanket, though the chill in the air remained. "It is not I who reveals your truth, but you who must confront it." With that proclamation, the ground beneath shifted again, an unseen force lifting them towards the gates of judgment that loomed ahead in the swirling fog. They stumbled forward, fear propelling them, But each step grew heavier with doubt. Would they crumble under the weight of their truths? As they neared the gates, another crack of thunder erupted, and the luminous presence gestured. The gates creaked open, revealing a dazzling light beyond, brighter than anything they had encountered. But within that light, shadows shifted, whispering secrets long buried. One by one, the souls paused just beyond the threshold, glancing back at one another. A murmur of dread washed over them. What if we fail? Someone gasped. Then you must face the consequences, came the response, almost like a gentle sigh. They exchanged fearful looks. What could that mean? There were no answers, only echoes of what they had lived, every unkind word, every unresolved ache, and every opportunity squandered. The weight of their regrets pressed down like an iron shackle. Proceed, the voice urged, softer now, as if sensing their hesitation. Your intentions will light the path forward. But now, a dreadful thought struck them. What if the path led to despair? What if they had not truly loved? What if their forgiveness was merely a facade? Panic surged through the group as they felt the very foundations of their existence tremble. Taking a deep breath, the soul at the front stepped forward, the light reflecting off him like a beacon of hope. We can do this. We must face our truths, he said, trembling yet resolute. With a collective push, they crossed into the blinding light, hearts pounding, minds racing. The moment they did, a deafening roar erupted, shattering the silence. Was it anger or resolve? Before them lay the first question to be answered. Yet the air grew thick with uncertainty, the burden of their choices rising like a tide. What truths awaited them? Would they be able to embrace the very answers that haunted them? The light enveloped them, an intoxicating swirl of possibilities, leaving the souls grasping for breath as the stakes climbed higher. And then came the whisper in the wind, a haunting echo that promised revelation but cloaked it in veils of uncertainty. In that moment, everything hung in a delicate balance, looming with dread. What were they truly about to face? And were they prepared for the raw, unfiltered truths that could shatter them completely? The blinding light swallowed them whole, spirals of color dancing like fireworks, blurring their vision. It felt like stepping into a new world. Yet everything was bathed in an oppressive silence. Their hearts throbbed, a race against time, as each soul grappled with the mysteries waiting just beyond the glare. Shapes began to materialize slowly, coalescing from the light, revealing a grand hall filled with an unsettling majesty. Enormous arches stretched to an unseen ceiling, adorned with symbols of ages past, a tapestry of tales untold. But despite its beauty, foreboding hung heavy in the air, as if the walls too bore witness to the soul's haunted pasts. Where was the voice that had guided them? They searched for it frantically, swallowing their fear like bitter pills. When would their reckoning come? And more importantly, could they endure it? As if in response to their despair, 3 glowing orbs floated gently before them. Each pulsed with a radiance that beckoned them closer, yet repelled them with an equal force. The souls exchanged looks, confusion mingling with fear. What are those supposed to be? A voice trembled, breaking the suffocating silence. Suddenly, one orb surged forward, illuminating a figure, a reflection of their own selves, a past moment caught in a perfect loop. It was a memory. Laughter echoed from the orb, tinged with warmth. But beneath that joy lay something deeper, a festering wound carved by harsh words and abandoned apologies. I remember this. A soul murmured, their throat tightening as recollections washed over them like a wave. Every choice shapes your reality. A voice blasted like thunder, reverberating through the hall and sinking deep into their bones. You cannot hide from what you have done. The second orb flickered, unveiling a darker scene: betrayal. A loved one's face contorted in anguish, anger flaring like a blaze. Pain punctured the air, and the accusing eyes of the forgotten lingered for just a heartbeat longer than they should have. The souls shifted uneasily, feeling as if they were being pulled into the very grief they had caused. Will you forgive them? The question hung, a guillotine blade poised above their necks. I can't, someone cried. The shout reverberated through the hall, filled with urgency. I can't just let it go. Then you will carry that burden for eternity. The voice returned, chilling every soul to the core. The third orb pulsed ominously, revealing a future, a life unfulfilled, dreams left to wither and die. They saw looming choices ahead, paths branching in a horrific multitude, each filled with opportunity lost, love unexpressed. Would they confront their fears? Would they seize their second chances? Panic cascaded through the group. What if I don't recognize my chance? One soulless voice cracked, an emotional plea against the uncertainty swelling around them. An eerie silence fell again. Their eyes darted, searching for some light, some sign of hope amid the shadows. What if we fail? The question slipped out, soft yet powerful, echoing in the stillness. In that moment, warmth flickered from the center orb, a promise of redemption wrapped in golden hues. The hardest truths lead to the greatest healing. It whispered gently, something akin to compassion threading through the words. As trepidation mounted, the collective breath of the souls shot up their chests, intertwining desperation and longing. Would they confront their past? And as the orbs pulsed with questions that threatened to tear them apart, the air filled with anticipation. What would they ultimately reveal as dawn broke over this dark chapter of their existence? Amid the chaos of emotions, something deeper stirred at the edges of their consciousness. What unseen truths awaited them in the depths of their hearts? Would they confront the most shocking question of all? Or would they cower away into darkness? The radiance of the golden orb intensified, casting warm light against the somber shadows that gripped the hall. For a heartbeat, the souls hovered on the precipice of decision, dread tightening like a noose around their throats. The warmth fanned embers of hope within them, mingling with the cold grip of fear. Could they really face what lay ahead? One brave soul stepped forward, their voice trembling but resolute. I'll do it. I'll confront my past. The words echoed, a declaration against the suffocating silence, igniting a flicker of courage in the hearts of the others. They followed suit, one by one, stepped toward the orb as it pulsed with urgency. But with each reluctant stride came the weight of memories. Each moment was a shackle, the ghosts of their past swirling ever closer. Would they find forgiveness, or would the torment devolve into a reckoning too fierce to endure? The first orb shimmered, and the memory rippled within it, becoming sharper. They could hear laughter, bright and carefree, but it twisted into wails as shadows crept over the faces they once cherished. Each pang of regret stabbed deeper. They could feel the bitterness of words unspoken hanging in the charged air. What if it's too late to change? A voice quivered. The question vibrated with profound fear. What if they had crossed an unforgivable line? Nothing is ever too late. The voice boomed back, resonating even through the walls that enclosed them. You'll only find what you seek if you dare to untangle the hurt. Embrace your pain. They gathered their resolve, weaknesses coiling inward, like a spring ready to snap. The second orb pulsed, unveiling their hearts, not the raw emotions but choices made in the heat of passion and anger. Faces emerged, vividly colored by the hues of betrayal and sorrow. A loved one stood out distinctly, mouth agape in a silent scream, eyes shimmering with tears of despair. The gravity of those moments pulled at each soul like a black hole, threatening to suck them into the depths of guilt. Can I really forgive? Someone whispered, their voice quaking. What if I'm not strong enough? The orb glowed sympathetically, filling the hall with an eerie light. Forgiveness is strength. Denial is weakness. What will you choose? Another stepped forward. I choose to forgive, another declared, his eyes sparkling with unshed tears. Not for them but for myself. A chorus of murmurs followed, the determination building like a crescendo. Each soul grasped at a thread of hope, weaving their narratives together, intent on breaking free from the chains of their past. But the third orb loomed at the back as a dark reminder, a futurescape riddled with undelivered dreams and unspoken words. Dilapidated homes and withering flowers flickered before their eyes, each pleading for life. What if I never have a chance? A voice quaked, breaking the tension momentarily. You stand here now, the echoing voice offered, licking at their doubts. This is your chance. Will you let fear be your guide? In that moment, everything slowed. Heartbeats thudded in their chests, loud as war drums. They stood at the crossroads, wrestling with unseen forces tugging at their souls. Would they rise? Would they confront their fears head-on? Suddenly, a ripple ran through the orbs, the air thickening like molasses. The option of safety lay before them, or they could leap into the terrifying unknown. Think carefully. You are on the brink of revelation. The voice rumbled. But I ask again, what will you choose? As doubt hung heavily in the air, a shocking realization sparked between them, igniting a collective memory. What about the past they held too close? The souls exchanged fearful glances. The air crackled with tension, a dawning sense of urgency wrapping around them. Could they truly face their most haunting truths, the ones they had buried deep? Or would they turn away, collapsing back into the shadows that had once defined them? What awaited them in that dark abyss? Only one thing was certain. The next moment could shatter everything they thought they understood. The air trembled in the hall, thick with anticipation. Each soul felt the weight of the decisions pressing down, their breaths heavy with an uneasy mixture of hope and dread. The golden orb pulsed, flickers of pain and joy imprinted in its glow, demanding attention. They were on the threshold of something unthinkable. Fear not. The voice filled the space again, a commanding presence that seemed to transcend their doubts. What awaits you in the darkness is only a reflection of what you refuse to see in yourself. To grow, you must break. Silence engulfed them once more. Each soul stood rooted, grappling with shadows from their past that whispered promises of safety in denial. But behind those whispers surged a furious tide of untold stories. Could they embrace the pain that had clung to them for so long? Or would they choose the comforting lie stitched from past wounds? I can't. A shaky voice finally broke the silence. It belonged to Clara, her eyes wide with fear. What if the truth destroys me? What if I can't bear what I see? Step forward, Clara, came the authority in the chamber's echo. You are stronger than you believe. Stand before the orb and let your past be revealed. Only then can your healing begin. A shiver coursed down Clara's spine. Her memories burned bright, demanding to be faced. With trembling legs, she took a tentative step. Gradually, the light from the orb illuminated her face, reflecting a collage of sorrow and regret. She hesitated, towing the edge of the abyss with her heart racing perilously. I forgive myself, she whispered, eyes glistening. But her voice lost strength, and self-doubt clawed back. The orb flickered, swirling dangerously as if reflecting her inner turmoil. Embrace the fear. Do not shy away from the truth, the commanding voice urged. Around her, a tense air filled with courage began to bloom. One by one, eyes flickered with determination as more souls edged forward, each grappling with their own pasts. The ethereal glow enveloped them, revealing stories intertwined, brimming with intertwined joys and agonies. Memories cascaded like a torrential storm, long-lost laughter swirling with grief over time, souls wrestling with the harsh realities of their choices. No more running, someone called out, voice booming with newfound energy. We will face this together. As Clara stared into the vibrant chaos of the orb, it felt like staring into a mirror reflecting nightmares alongside dreams. A figure flashed, a friend from years ago, once so close. The moment she had turned her back, pride building walls that shattered their connection. Regret clawed at her throat. She felt the tears prick, the release of long-held sorrow churning within her. I wanted to reach out to say I'm sorry, she cried out. The orb brightened, as if resonating with her truth, urging her to embrace it. Other souls began to echo her sentiment, voices rising above the despair. Words of forgiveness took root, spreading like wildfire. Yet, the third orb remained heavy, a dark reminder lurking in the distance. The potential for unfulfilled lives swirled on the edges, looming dangerously close. Will you reach for the light? Acknowledge your choices, even if it means confronting your fears? The echoing voice questioned ominously. Will we? Murmurs cascaded among them, a ripple of uncertainty. Could they let their buried truths rise? Suddenly, Clara remembered her mother's haunting words, echoing in her mind. You have to walk through the fire to come out the other side. Steeling herself, Clara took a burdened breath. I will not let fear rule me, she shouted, surprising herself with how determined her voice sounded. Silence fell, but a flicker sparked in the orb, a promise of light fighting against the dark. As the orb brightened, wild shadows lashed out, threatening to snuff out the glow. Clara felt the powerful energy surge, deep within. It was now or never. Will you join me? She challenged the others. Will you fight the darkness with me? As Clara's words echoed back through the hall, the shadows twisted, the air crackling with uncertainty. Would they step into the light together, or would they succumb to their deepest fears and doubts? A moment hung in the balance. The orb pulsed ominously, shining with a foreboding invitation. The choice was theirs, and it could change everything. What lay ahead promised salvation or perhaps doom. What would they risk to seek the truth within? The grasp of shadows tightened, and time felt like a tether, fragile and fleeting. Clara stood at the precipice of the unknown, heart racing like a wild drum. The orb pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat, each thrum echoing the weight of the moment. Around her, others hesitated, caught in a thick web of uncertainty. Would they move forward or retreat into the stifling comforts of their past? Together, she whispered to herself, words barely escaping her lips. Suddenly, an unsettling crackle filled the hall. The shadows lurked close, hungry and insidious, clawing at the edges of their courage. Clara raised her head, steeling her resolve. I won T back down, she proclaimed, her voice gaining strength, resonating in the chamber like a bell tolling hope. The faces around her shifted, each reflecting uncertainty. Some clutched at their arms, trembling under the weight of thoughts racing through their minds, a past laced with pain, regrets festering like wounds. Yet the orb flickered, its golden light beckoning them like a lighthouse guiding lost ships home. Are you with me? Clara called. We cannot let fear choke our voices. Look into the light. Trust what lies beyond. One by one, hesitant souls began to inch forward, hands trembling but moving willingly. There was a ripple of camaraderie that grew with every step. A man with haunted eyes stepped beside Clara, his resolve flickering but present. I have spent too long hiding, he admitted, fear and bravery colliding in his voice. Just as Clara turned to face him, a scream pierced through the heavy tension. From the shadows emerged a figure, draped in darkness, eyes glinting like sharp knives. It was a woman, her face carved with sorrow, arms outstretched as if grasping for something lost. You think you can confront me? She hissed, her voice low and menacing. Face yourself? You know nothing of the real darkness. Clara's heart sank. The woman's identity resonated, a shadow of her own. It was a part of her she longed to forget, all the pain she had buried deep. The mirror of her soul reflected a struggle too brutal to confront. Still, she took a deep breath, pushing back against the rising tide of despair. No, Clara shouted, the word bursting forth with newfound determination. You are not my truth. The past does not define me. The orb flashed, light slicing through the darkness, blinding for just a moment. Clara felt the swell of energy, each flicker sparking resilience in those around her. See her for what she is. The commanding voice boomed, shaking the very foundation of the hall. A reflection of your fears. You do not have to succumb to her grip. Hot tears burned down Clara's cheeks, a cathartic release for defenses long held. I forgive you, she whispered to the shadow, breaking its hold on her heart. In an instant, the air shifted. The haunting figure flickered, less substantial now, like mist pushed away by a powerful wind around her. People gasped as the orb grew brighter, its light stretching across the room, cleansing the dark corners of their minds. Voices surged, one after another finding strength in unity. Forgive, 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 they cried, the chant humming through the hall as if a spell was being cast, light conquering shadows. Clara could barely comprehend what unfolded. Yet in that moment, she felt a collective awakening. Each soul stood more vibrant, eyes alight with newfound clarity. The darkness that bound them began to retreat, crumbling like ancient stone, revealing a shimmering path ahead. But the tension still lingered. Questions spiraled in the aftermath. What awaited them beyond this light? Would the shadows ultimately return, or had they set themselves free? And just as the air shimmered with hope, the shadows began to twist back, larger and more insistent than before. The room pulsed ominously, filling with an unshakable dread, an echo of the truths yet to be confronted. Do you truly believe you can escape? The voice reverberated, taunting, echoing along the walls. What if the darkest shadows are yet to come? Clara's heart raced. Would they persist together, or would the darkness consume them whole? As the orb flickered once more, the flicker of uncertainty ignited into an urgent question. What awaited them at the other end of the journey? Clara's heart thumped in her chest. The shadows seemed to swell, breathing life into the fear she thought she had shaken off. No, we can't let it win, she whispered again, more to herself than anyone else. She turned to the others, seeking strength in their faces, but found only trepidation. The orb pulsed, its energy radiating like a heartbeat of hope but offset by the growing dread wrapping around them like chains. We're in this together, Clara called out, trying to pierce through the atmosphere thick with despair. But the voice from the void grew louder, echoing through the chamber. Together? Look at your neighbors. Who here can truly be trusted? What if one of them is your undoing? A pause heavy as time itself. Then it continued, look closely. The truth can shatter you and it will. The air crackled with tension, a visceral sensation that made Clara's skin crawl. A man near the front trembled, his face pale and drawn. What if we're not strong enough? He stammered, eyes darting around in fear. Strength comes from within, from facing our truths. Clara shouted, gripping the orb like a lifeline. We can do this. Suddenly, a second figure emerged from the shadows. A man, his expression twisted with anguish. You want to face the truth? He challenged, stepping forward, his voice low and quaking. What of betrayal? What of lost love? You think this is mere darkness? This is your reality. Would you recognize the monster if it stared you in the face? Clara's breath caught. The shadows were not just specters of the past but intertwined with the lives that surrounded her. Everyone was steeped in their own pain, secrets hidden behind smiles and laughter. The room felt suffocating, the orb's glow dimming slightly as doubt seeped in. Then, one by one, others began to step back, unwilling to confront the weight of their anguish. Stay strong, Clara cried out. Do not let fear dictate our fate. But the shadows danced more wildly now, spurred by the hesitation. Each pretension they clutched at unraveled threads of their reality. Faces went pale as doubts surfaced, tales of betrayal, shame, regrets echoing in whispered confessions. It became unbearable. Clara felt the dread tighten like a vice around her heart. Do the shadows follow your every move? The first figure whispered, eyes gleaming with malice. Can you escape your past? Clara inhaled deeply, the air thickening with despair. She thought of her own shadows, the shattered relationships, the dreams left unfulfilled. But if she allowed them to take root, they would consume not just her but those around her, feeding on uncertainty. We are not defined by these shadows, she shouted through gritted teeth, summoning every ounce of resolve. She raised the orb high, its light flaring defiantly. It's time to face the truth. But the shadows recoiled, and then surged forward, a cacophony of whispers and howls opposing her light. Do you truly know the truth, Clara? The pain you've buried is more powerful than you know. You have only begun to scratch the surface. Her breath quickened as she realized this was only the beginning. The shadows wove their way into the thoughts of her friends, tightening their grip on the hearts of everyone present. Fear gave way to despair, and the chamber trembled with the weight of generations of silence. In that moment, Clara felt an overwhelming sense of urgency. We must face it together. But would they listen? Would they stand with her against the rising tide of darkness? Just then, A chilling gust swept through the hall, extinguishing the orb's glow, casting them back into suffocating darkness. Clara could hear the soft sobs of her comrades drifting through the murk, questions piling on one another, building to a storm as the shadows swirled closer. Clara's thoughts raced. What if they were too late? What if utter dread awaited them just beyond? Answer me this, Clara shouted into the void, her voice breaking through the noise. What is scarier, facing the shadows together or letting them engulf us alone? Her words hung in the air, electrifying the silence. She could feel the weight of a decision looming, the stakes higher than ever. What would they choose? As the shadows swept around her, a singular question pierced through, echoing like a gong. Could they find the light again? Tension permeated the air like an impending storm. The shadows spiraled around Clara, thick and suffocating. Each whisper taunted her, creeping closer as doubt clawed at her resolve. What happens if they don't believe? Hushed gasps echoed from the others, drowning in their panic. I know you, a voice hissed. It slithered through the darkness, icy and intimate. Your mistakes are inscribed on your soul, Clara. You think they will embrace you? Even if you find the truth, are you ready to bear that burden? The shadows pressed upon her, digging into her thoughts. Memories flickered like ghostly images: her brother's betrayal, her mother's sharp words, friendships destroyed because she hadn't been strong enough to hold on. Clara felt the weight of those moments, squeezing the breath from her lungs. Her instinct was to recoil, but she forced herself to stand tall. No, she shouted, her voice cracking through the darkness. I won't be afraid. I refuse to let you win. With trembling hands, Clara reached for the remains of the orb, desperate to reignite its light. Together, we can rise against this darkness. But her voice faltered, wavering against the tide of growing discontent. Behind her, she could feel the flock pulling away, doubts buoying them like leaves in a turbulent river. Please, she begged, searching each face for a flicker of trust. We can't let the shadows define us. We have to face them together. A deep rumble echoed from the shadows, suffusing the air with despair. Can you even face yourself, Clara? The first figure taunted, now moving with a sinister elegance. What is hidden beneath that brave mask? You dare speak of togetherness when you can't even admit the truth of your own darkness? Jake, a man she had known since childhood, stepped forward, his face raw with grief. Clara, I don't know if I can face my past. It's suffocating. His eyes shimmered with tears, reflecting his internal battle. Then face it with us, Clara urged, her voice rising in crescendo. She locked eyes with him, searching for that glimmer of strength. Don't let it conquer you alone. The chamber trembled, the energy shifting like a restless tide. Clara's words ignited a flicker of life among them. Others began to nod, albeit hesitantly. The shadows paused, sensing the change. Perhaps it was fear or defiance, she couldn't tell, but something shifted. Yet, what if your truth tears you apart? The figure's voice was a low growl, as if feeding off their apprehension. What bonds will shatter as you peel back the layers? Nameless faces will become personal nightmares. Clara felt her anxiety spike, a lump forming in her throat. The thought of losing those she loved was unbearable, but she forced herself to maintain eye contact. We must weigh our truths against this darkness. We have each other. Our light can conquer this inferno. Suddenly, the orb flickered back to life, a small beacon in the darkness, its glow faltering but alive. Clara felt the warmth pulse through her fingers, sending a jolt of hope through the tension-soaked air. See? She called out, buoyed by this small victory. We have light. Let it guide us through. Will you face this together? Do we dare? Came a voice from the back. Elsa, her voice quivering with uncertainty. A shiver coursed through Clara. They were all riddled with fear, but did they truly want to rise together, to let their shadows roam free? Isn't it worse to linger in the dark? Clara countered, feeling hope flicker in her heart. Don't we owe it to ourselves? As faces turned, an underlying tension hung in the air, palpable like the scent of smoke before a fire. Clara could feel the darkness stirring, ready to pounce at their hesitation. In that critical moment, a guttural roar echoed through the chamber, shaking the very foundations. "We're all trapped, Clara." The man from the shadows advanced, fury in his eyes. "The truth will bury you. You're nothing without your masks." The shadows erupted into a swirling tempest, engulfing them in an almost sentient darkness that threatened to consume everything. Clara's instincts kicked in. They had to decide. Would they confront their truths now, or allow the darkness to rip them apart one by one? "Are you with me?" Clara shouted, plunged into it, gripping the orb with both hands as she summoned every ounce of light left within her. "Or will you let the shadows take you?" The darkness paused as if contemplating her challenge. Outside, a flutter of wind whispered, almost beckoning her forward, tantalizingly close, a glimmer of the truth she so desperately craved. What awaited her was unclear, shrouded in impending dread. But in this moment, Clara felt one chilling realization dawn upon her. The truest fight was about to begin. What price would they pay to reclaim their light? The air thickened, heavy with an otherworldly weight as Clara held the flickering orb, her heart pounding like a war drum. The shadows circled, a tempest of darkness eager to snuff out their fragile light. They had to act, but doubt wrapped around her like chains. What if it's too late? The whisper curled around her thoughts, coiling tightly. The shadows lunged, swirling with a sinister energy. Clara could feel their cold breath against her skin, a chilling caress that sent waves of terror coursing through her. "You can't escape what you are." The figure jeered, twisting in the shadows, dancing around her. Jake stepped back, his resolve unraveling. "I can't do this, Clara," he said, voice trembling, eyes wide with fear. "The truth. It hurts too much." "No." Clara's voice shattered the silence, crackling with desperation. She turned to the rest of her friends, some still rooted in fear. "We can't back down." A flicker of rebellion sparked in her chest, urging her to fight against the encroaching darkness. "This is our moment. We face it together, or we drown alone." Every word felt loaded with urgency. She willed the light in the orb to shine brighter, pushing against the heavy darkness, rallying her forces. The orb flared for a moment, illuminating the chamber, revealing faces twisted in anguish and uncertainty. "You want to know what truth you'll expose? What light you'll cast in this darkness?" The shadowy figure laughed, the sound echoing like thunder. "Each of you carries burdens that will not only haunt you but will destroy those around you." Clara felt her confidence waver, a familiar dread creeping in. What truths lay dormant within her, waiting to claw their way out? What if the light unleashed more horror than they could handle? She shook her head, casting aside the doubt. "We're not defined by our failures. We have the power to change." A flicker of resolve flashed in Elsa's eyes. "You're right, Clara. I can't let this consume me. We deserve the chance to face the truth together." Her voice grew stronger, pulling others with her like a tide turning. "Let us confront our shadows." The shadows hissed, angry at their unity, swirling tumultuously as if the very air around them crackled with their rage. "Foolish mortals," the figure roared, flinging waves of darkness at them. "You think your light is strong enough? You'll only embolden your demons." Clara stood firm, intuition pushing her forward. "We have to believe. The pain is part of our journey, not the end. Will you face your shadows with me?" One by one, the others stepped closer, courage layering with each heartbeat. The orb pulsed in Clara's grip, bathing her in warmth as every hand joined hers. They were in this together. The shadows twisted, lashing out, seeking to pry apart their unity. But Clara and her friends stood their ground. "Now," Clara shouted, "let us each speak our truth." The moment felt electric. Clara could feel the surge of energy building, the orb growing brighter, its light spreading, illuminating the ghastly forms before them. It was more than just her fear intertwined with each of theirs. It was a collective force, looming steady against the onslaught of doubt. One by one, they began to share the burdens they carried. "I thought I was alone," Jake whispered, his voice steadying as he peeled back layers of grief. But I can't hide anymore. I always thought I was right, Elsa added, tears in her eyes. But I was blind to the pain I caused. With each confession, the orb brightened further, illuminating forgotten corners of their minds and hearts. Shadows hissed and recoiled at the light, fear and pain finally seeing the light of day. But Clara could sense the storm inside her swirling, whispers tempting her to surrender to the darkness. What happens if the words hung like a noose? What if I'm wrong again? What if I can't bring back the light? A silence fell over the room, still and tense. The shadows writhed more ferociously, their whispers filling Clara's ears, seductive yet tainted. What if you're not strong enough to carry it all? Clara gripped the orb tighter, eyes narrowing. With resolve. I won't let you take away my voice. As the final truth slipped from her lips, a surge of pure white light erupted from the orb. Clara felt power ripple through her, freeing every ounce of buried shame, illuminating the true beauty of their intertwined stories. But just as victory began to swell, a deafening roar surged through the room, and the shadows raised up in a vortex of fury. Clara realized that this was not the end. Above them, a new, darker presence emerged, more potent and terrifying than before, cackling with chaotic delight. Your light will not save you now. What had they awakened in their fight? An ominous question loomed. Were they truly prepared to face the unknown horrors that now awaited them? The air crackled with a palpable tension, the golden orb flickering in Clara's grasp. It pulsed like a heartbeat, reminding them all that they were alive, full of strength waiting to be unleashed. The shadows writhed, an ominous swell of darkness eager to engulf them. What have you done? The voice of the looming figure sneered, echoing off the walls like a death knell. Clara felt a chill grip her spine as they stood at the edge of a precipice. Unsteady yet defiant as the shadows danced dangerously close, she realized this was the moment she and her friends had prepared for. No retreat, only forward. We have faced our truths, Clara declared, her voice cutting through the rising storm. You can't take that from us. We will not back down. Suddenly, with a forceful rush, the shadows surged as if launching an attack. But they glinted against the orb's warm light, now a solid wall of hope. It was electrifying, mesmerizing. Together, their hearts raced as several voices harmonized, united in resolve. Together, they shouted, echoes mingling, reverberating like thunder against the walls of despair. In that pivotal moment, an energy built, pooling in Clara's chest. She pulled the orb closer, grounding herself deeper. Let us channel our joy and our pain, she called out, heart racing. The shadows shrieked, curling away from the incandescent glow emanating from the orb. Bit by bit, the darkness separated, revealing glimpses of light breaking through. Yes, Jake's voice rang out, filled with fervor. They're afraid of our power. With each declaration, the room seemed to warm. The shadows hesitated, that icy grip loosening in the face of their unity. Clara felt the boundaries of fear beginning to fall as hands clasped around the orb, forming a circle, grounding them against the storm. Now, share your truth, Clara urged. Each soul stepped forward, their burdens summoning strength as they voiced long-hidden regrets. I was selfish, Elsa cried out, tears spilling freely. I hurt people and didn't even care until it was too late. I can't carry that weight anymore. The orb brightened with her words, warmth like sunshine spilling forth. Others poured out their confessions, the atmosphere thick with liberation. I allowed bitterness to eat at me until I lost everything, another soul said, their voice steady with newfound conviction. Clara's heart swelled with an exhilarating mix of fear and courage. This was the transformation they had been seeking. But just as the orb blazed with brilliance, the figure surged with malignant energy. Do you really think this will save you? Thundered. The storm intensified, shadows swirling violently. You cannot outrun your own darkness. Clara's breath hitched. Would they falter? But the orb glowed brightly, and she felt the momentum shift. We face the storm together, she roared, echoing strength across the chamber as if on cue. The orb surged again, bathing the area in light, and the shadows writhed in protest. The figure roared in fury, but they held firm. "We stand united," Clara shouted, gripping the luminous orb tightly as the light intensified. The shadows recoiled, their figures wavering and whispering, their menacing forms dissipating like mist in the morning sun. One by one. The souls stepped forward, hands clasped around the orb, their collective voices rising into a choir of truth and reclamation. "We forgive ourselves," they cried, letting the heavy chains of shame slip off their shoulders. The shadows shrieked, their cries piercing the air as flickers of light swirled in all directions. Clara felt the tension unraveling, and for the first time in what felt like eternity, peace bathed the chamber. "We are united," echoed through the space, powerful and unwavering. Suddenly, the oppressive darkness began to fade away, shadows dissolving into flickers of light as the orb splashed radiance across the walls. The air felt lighter, hope swelling into every heart. Then, the voice of the radiant presence filled the chamber, warm and inviting. "You see, the truth lies in your unity, in the love that transcends every burden you carry. Fear has no power over those who embrace their light. Go forth. Your judgment is not your end but a beginning." With that declaration, the gates of judgment opened wide, revealing a world bathed in golden warmth. Each soul exchanged relieved glances, strong and vibrant with possibilities. Clara turned to her friends, tears of relief streaming down her face. "We did it. Together." The whispers of shadows fell silent, replaced by laughter and shared stories of joy. They had faced the storm and emerged on the other side, stronger than ever as they stepped toward the light. Clara held her head high. Life awaited beyond those gates, waiting for them to weave their tales anew. Each choice they made would sparkle with the lessons learned, paving a path of love, forgiveness, and resilient purpose. Once out, Clara turned to the gathering crowd. "We are but shadows and light, but we choose to embrace both. Let us carry this strength forward." And there together, standing beneath an endless sky filled with stars, they breathed in a sense of hope that would never fade. They were ready to face whatever lay ahead. They had triumphed, united in the heart of truth. Now, before the dawn breaks and new adventures unfold, I urge you, subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on exclusive stories that will spark your soul. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your unwavering support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about how this story resonated with you. And, most importantly, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformative conclusion. You need to subscribe now, because this is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Join us as we journey forward together.